Massive thank you to everyone that subscribed. I've reached 1,000 or just a little over 1,000 now. So a massive thank you to everyone that subscribed to me, and I hope you stick with me and like what I put out. As a big thank you, I thought I'd show you around my workshop. I know a lot of YouTube woodworkers are in double garages and still reckon that their workshop is tiny, and I'm looking at it thinking you've got loads of space to make art and do weird things and paint it, and they're loving life, and they're still moaning that it's too small. It's not small, guys, by the way. That's enormous. This is roughly just under 7 foot by 10 foot. And obviously it's not all usable space because you've got the door in the middle here. You've got these bits jutting out. You can use the bits like behind it, but actual working space, I can't put the bench right back there, so it cuts into the room. So let's get started. Now, hopefully, if you've got a small workshop, some of the things that I do might help how you work as well. You maybe can't see the workbench here, but it's about 5 foot long. It's got, you can see here, this is in a vise here, and it's got another vise back over there. I got this free, which is very nice. It's a little, I had to leave it outside whilst I was building this shed, and so it is a little bit warped. It's not got a flat surface. It bugs me so much, but there's not a lot I can do unless I take the whole thing down and flatten it all. I can't be bothered with that. I've got work to do, so it stays as is. Behind me here are all my chisels. Some of them are just standard flat things you get in the supermarket. A lot of these are old, oh that's not good, are old antique type things, like £4, which is good. The file ones, these are more expensive. These are like £20 each, maybe more, which is why I like these. You have to do a lot of work on them to get them usable when you buy them, but it's much better. I can get loads then, rather than £20 a pop, and you need a lot to do the sort of stuff I do. You need a lot of variety. I have the flex cut. You may be able to see, can you see those? Just about. I have these all going down here. They're good if you're looking at flex cut tools. The difference is, let's get them on again. These are very stiff, and these, as their namesake is, so can you see that? It flexes, which at first I didn't really mind. It's kind of nice, you could kind of bend it and scoop it around cuts, which is nice, but sometimes you want it to be firm and it's a bit of a pain. And with these you have to buy this additional handle, which I can't even remember how much they are. I think they're like £10 each, so it still works out 20 quid a thing, a chisel. And you've got to take it off. I mean, it's not easy to, not that easy to take off. There we are, right. So to do all that, to stick another one in, to make a couple of cuts, and then have to put it all out, I put my main ones in there and I leave them, and I very rarely use the others now, unless I'm desperate for that curve, which occasionally I am. I don't know if you, oh yeah, draw knife. Never used it, but it was free. It's good. Spoke shaver. I bought this recently actually. I think it's only about £4 as well. I haven't used that yet. I haven't even sharpened it yet. But hopefully I get to use that soon. What else is in view? Just about planes. I've got 3 down here. I've got number 7 over there, which I can't get to at the minute because I'm strapped in. I use them a lot because I haven't got room for a thickness planer or any other sort of planing device, as it were. That's my go-to tool. It's a lot of work. I'm not great at it, I must admit. I usually get it roughly there, and then I'll stick people that love planes are going to hate me for this, but now and then I stick a bit of sandpaper to the top of my table saw because it's flat, and then I'd rub the workpiece over that to make sure it's definitely bang on flat. Because I don't know if it's the soul of that or what, but quite often I can get it there, but there's still a bit of light shining through, so I can't get that fine end that I need on it. Right, these I got from B&Q. It's just like a hardware type store. You've got 4 or 5 rasps, 4 or 5 files, should I say, and 3 rasps, and I use that every project. I thought I got them just because I thought, oh, that might be useful. Honestly, on everything I use that. Shape stuff with the rasp, get it down with a file, and then you only really need like 120 sandpaper to get those file marks out. So I highly recommend getting a set like that. I think it was only about 20 quid, so not bad. What else is in shop? Just about. Dremel, use that quite a lot, mainly for the drum sander attachment. But I do use the small diamond burr bits and things for getting into carvings, stuff that the chisels can't get, or the ones that chisels are. There's thousands of chisels. There's like hundreds of different sizes, hundreds of different sweeps. There's then the same but with like a spoon bent bit at the bottom. So many. So I haven't got the money or the space to have all these hundreds and hundreds of chisels. So that's, if you're doing carving, that's great for doing the little niddly bits. Stuff that you can't normally do with the chisels. You can't like scoop around and do much. We could move around. Shall we move around? Woo! Right, just moving along from the bench. Obviously this is the end of my workbench. I have the drill press. This was from, I think, B&Q or Wix. Reasonable price. Pretty good. I don't have much background in pillar drills, drill press, whatever you want to call it, so I can't judge it on anything, but it does the job. Quite often use it. What's in there now is basically a disc with some leather on it. I put compound on that, and that just hones up my chisels. Weirdly, that's mostly what I use it for, but I do drill with it. That's on, I don't know if you can see it, you can sort of see it, an old chest of drawers, which has got just random bits and bobs in. You've got a few sash clamps here. Above that, up here, hand saws. You can just see them over there are my clamps. A bit annoying over there, and there's no real other place for them, to be honest. So they stay over there out of the way, but I can get to them easily, so that's all that really matters. Underneath that is a whole lot of scrap wood. I don't generally do woodwork in the sense of making fine boxes and all that kind of rubbish. I generally do carvings and odds and sods and weird things and signs, so I quite often use that sort of sized wood, and it's difficult to store because it's all little bits. I can't put it up in a raft of bits, and to be honest, I get a lot of moisture going up because it's hot in here, and there's not a lot of ventilation, especially if the door's shut. If it's winter and I've got the heater on, it gets a bit warm. So I don't generally keep much up there, to be honest. Let's see if we can move along again. Oh, bloody hell. Okay, again, moving along just a little bit. I have my sharpening station, basically. The workshop, a bit overpriced for what it is. It's a good product, but essentially it's some sandpaper on a spinning disc. I know you've got some fancy things with it. The plain blades go underneath that goes at a specific angle, but I find mine always sharpens at a funny angle. I find the little blue bit where the plane goes under, or flat chisels and things go under at an angle. I don't know if something's off on it, but it often shaves off at one angle all the time on every chisel. Still sharpens it, but it's a bit weird. For the price, you would think everything would be bang on it, but I usually use the top, so it's not too much of a problem. But again, for the price, it's just a spinning disc with some sandpaper on it. So if you're thinking about getting it, see if you can do a makeshift one first, and if that works, then use that. If not, then go for it. I mean, it works well. There's nothing wrong with it, really. Obviously got my old stone, what are they called? Grinding wheels and stuff. The thing behind it, you can see the little red thing there. The black, that's my main power input. That's all that is a extension lead that I've drilled a hole in the back bottom behind all that wood, and I've taken a wire out through that. I filled the hole with a load of like silicone putty stuff, make sure no water comes in. That runs down my garden. There's another hole drilled in the wall which goes into my kitchen, and it just literally plugs into a plug in the kitchen. And then I've got another extension that comes off over here. So it sounds a bit worrying, there's a lot of extension leads, but I've never had a problem. And I run the fish pond pump off that as well, so never had a problem with it. What else are you in shop? This thing I got for free off my brother from his school, off a guy that donated it to, didn't want it anymore. I think probably because it doesn't really pass regulations. It's an ancient table saw on some homemade base. It does the trick though. The only problems with it, it hasn't got any sort of rip fence, and I haven't bothered to make one because I'm not a big fan of making shop projects. Obviously I've made this crosscut sled because that's pretty useful, I must admit. I know a rip fence would be equally as useful, but I must admit I don't often do that sort of cut, so you got to weigh it up. Maybe eventually I'll do one, but for now I mostly just use it for that and as an extra table. And like I said before, I use the flat surface to put sandpaper on to make sure things are all flat and nice and stuff. This is my number 7 plane. Never used it yet. I am building, you can see a guitar up there, I'm building another guitar, so I may well use it for that. But so far I haven't actually used it yet. Kind of upsetting. Right, what else can you see? What else can you see? Oh, odds and sods. It's just a little shelf. I was going to put loads of shelves all the way down, and then I found this. You can't see it very well. It's just a little cabinet. It's got cupboard doors in it, so that keeps out dust. Anything I don't want dust all over, because again, it's a small workshop. Dust builds up very quickly, and I haven't got any sort of extractor fan, so I just use the mask a lot, try and open the door, or use the hoover a lot as much as I can. But I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there is a lot of dust everywhere all the time, and I have cleaned up in here. It's usually a whole lot worse than this. This sexy little shot here. As you can see, I have polycarb windows in the ceiling. I've got one here and I've got one the other side, and that is my lighting. If you're wondering what sort of lighting I'm using right now, that is it. I do have a light up in the middle of the workshop, but I only use that in the winter when it's really dark. Even then, very rarely use it. I usually use a smaller sort of bedside lamp that I put on a workbench, and that allows side light to my workpiece, which is good for doing carvings because you can see the shadows on the texture. That's what you need. An overhead light like the one I have, it will just bleach everything out and you can't see really what you're doing. As you can see in this shot, let's get on with it. 2 welding masks. This is my sanding station. As I said, I don't make workshop projects. This is literally just a bit of steel rod on a couple of nails. Sandpaper, pair of scissors to cut it off. I couldn't even be bothered to put a hacksaw blade like most other people do to rip it off. That is too much work, my friend. I have projects to be doing, not workshop rubbish to be messing around with. Let's move you down. Let's do this all live. Right. Here, behind this 2x4, you probably just see is a Henry Hoover. That's my shop vac. That goes through. Let's move you down again. I think it's a Triton dust collection system. I've never used any others, so I don't know whether that's good compared to others or not, but it does work. So, I mean, I'm happy with it. So there's no issues. This is my heating for the whole shop. Only small. You see by my hand, tiny little thing, but that heats up the whole place. It's good, it's nice. So it does get cold out here in the winter. Bin. I don't know if you did see a minute ago, but this is just horrible. I need to clean this rubbish up. This is just scraps of wood that have no paint or glue and stuff, and then I'll just chuck that in the fire. Just firewood, really. This is, I don't know what all this is. There was a couple of weights down there I put for gluing some things up, but it turns, whoa, it seems to have just become a bit of a junk warner. Okay, this is my main power tool. Obviously the bandsaw. This is a Metabo Bass or BAS 260 Swift. I've had this 3 years, 4 years. I've had this a while, and the only thing that's now only recently happening to it is going up here occasionally on this wheel. I had a look to see if it was the bearing. I couldn't see any real wear or any cracks or anything, but I assume it must be that. Other than that, it works brilliantly. It's too bad, about 200 quid when I bought it. I think it still probably is about that. If you're thinking that's quite a lot of money, honestly, that is worth it. That does everything. Everything. I do everything on that. Brilliant. Even if it's just a tiny, I want to cut a tiny bit of it down. 2 seconds. So that is worth its weight in gold. Another window here, but this workshop was originally built in another garden, and we built it specifically. It had a tree one side, and this window looked out over the garden. It was lovely, but we had to move it here, and literally it fitted nowhere else other than here. So now I look at a fence. So this used to be back over there, now it's here because I don't care about this window. It's just less light in, but it's a crap view. Right, and then this is obviously the door. And the workbench right here is right to that door. That sort of shows you. Let me see if I can pan it a little bit. See the workbench, workbench, door, bandsaw, wall. That's the whole shed. It's not a big shed, but I do everything there. Okay, so let's go under the bench. Obviously we need to use up all space that we can in a small workshop like this, and this is where all my hand power tools go. It's not the best system because obviously wires and things, you pull one thing out, everything comes out with it. It's a pain in the ass, but we've got to do what we've got to do. Right, so let's go from left to right. I've got a 1/2 inch router here, which I've drilled a square of MDF onto the bottom, onto the base plate. That I can use as is, or I can take my particle board, which I have prepared earlier, which has a hole cut or a square cut, and should I say, with a slight recess, the thickness of the MDF, and the whole router will slot into that, and the particle board will sit on the top of this workbench, and that is my router table. It's a bit of a bit of work to do to get it all out and to sort it out, but I don't often get it out, and it saves loads of space rather than having to have a dedicated area for the router table. This one singular board just slots behind the workbench over there. The router goes under here. Literally, I'm not using up any space. Next to that is my core inch router. Used for smaller items. Some Dremel pieces. My jigsaw, which I actually use quite often now. When I first got it, I never used it for some reason, and I use it quite a lot now. Angle grinder. I do some welding and some metal work, but for all you woodworkers, it is very useful for wood, because you can buy these for £1, these sanding discs, and these eat through wood. Great for sculpting and shaping things. Next to that, I've got my orbital disc sander. I use that all the time. Hairdryer for melting wax and things, and heat gun for taking off varnishes and lacquers and things, especially because I do a lot of guitars and things. Underneath that, sort of, no, you're not really in shot, but it's sort of in shot, is my MIG welder. It's a Clark Weld MIG 145 Turbo. I don't get a chance to use it too often because I find metal's hard to get hold of, especially because you get a lot of metal collectors around here. Not collectors, but they come and nick metal and get money for it. So you don't see it lying around like you would. Under this section here is just junk. It's old toolboxes with odds and sods that occasionally I need, but very, very rare, and some fine sandpaper, which I'll only need occasionally right at the end of a specific project, something that's got a shiny finish to it or something. So all that kind of gets stuffed under there. Next to that is just my workmate and a couple of boards, really. They were just sort of stuffed in, nothing special. A lot of people ask about the heights of workbenches. A lot of people say different things. I don't think there is a specific height. A lot of woodworkers, especially people that use hand tools a lot, need to be over their work, and I think they have their workbenches quite low because they're above planes, or they're above their pieces that they're hand sawing and things. I obviously use the plane, I use a lot of hand saws, but I mostly carve and I mostly do fiddly bits. And so this is waist height. It's basically the sort of height of a kitchen worktop. So I can stand up straight and I can work at it. If I need to bend down to get a closer look or to really get the fine details, I'm only just slightly arching over. I'm not arching right down and hurting my back all the time. So this whole workbench is on a couple of bricks just to raise it up to waist height. The only problem is that, which I could fix by just, I suppose, screwing it to the actual shed, but I never got around to doing it, and it is a pain when you're planing and when you're sawing occasionally, but it doesn't cause me too many issues. So no, I just haven't really got around to doing it yet. But if I stand up, you'll probably see waist height. So everything's just there and I'm working at it. This, I don't know if, hang on, let me push you up a bit. This is a Stanley vise. It basically clamps on here, so I've clamped it onto this upright piece of wood, which I've clamped into that vise, or you could just clamp this onto a smaller table if you don't have an actual thick workbench. If you're working off a table, that's perfect for that. And especially for, I mean, most of you might not use this, but for carvers out there, you have these things called carvers vices, and there'll be a unit similar to this, basically, with a clamp, or well, actually no, it's got a screw if I remember rightly, and it comes up and then it swivels exactly like this. So you can access any part of your car that you want to access. Okay. Difference is, I think this was like 10 or 15 quid, and the carvers vices, or whatever you call them, are 80 plus. a massive difference. And this I can clamp onto everything. I think the carver's vices you have to screw down, if I remember correctly. But this, it just all clamps on a little ball, and that allows me, especially if I really want it right up here somewhere and I really want to work at fine details, I don't have to bend down at all then. Again, this is why I have it on this piece of wood. I can have it as high or as low as I want and get perfect height for my workpieces. And I don't do my backing. Okay, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the tour of the little workshop. Hopefully it's given you some ideas of how to set up your small work area. Again, personally, I think this is actually a fairly big space. I know a lot of you will probably be in even smaller areas, but just remember, I mainly use basically what is in the shot here. This is my main go-to tools, along with my files. Underneath this section, as I said, is my power tools, like my hand power tools. That is it. That is my main thing. And as I say, I have my router table, slots on here, it's the same area. And this whole workbench is 5 foot, and what you're seeing is probably only about 2 foot of space that I really actually use. Everything else just gets things just chucked on it and stuff. The only other space that I use a lot is literally right by the camera. Here is my bandsaw. I'm sure you could find, if you're really stuck for space, maybe down here or on the edge of the workbench. I reckon you'll slot that on without it being in the way. The drill press I do use. I can get away without it, must admit. What was over here? The table saw. Again, it's not a big, for what I do. If you're a carver, you only need half of this stuff really. It's all useful things, but if you haven't got space, don't worry about that. This is what you need here. This tiny, like 2 foot to 5 foot space, and what is it? 1.5 foot, 2 foot deep. Not even that actually. What's this? Yeah, 1.5 foot. 1.5 foot deep working space. I want to. And you're laughing, really. It's all about working out where you can put things, trying to keep it neater than I do. Have dedicated areas like this. These go there, they're always there. I don't lose them. These are always there, I don't lose them. Hand power tools are under there, they're messy, but they're always there. So I can always go to them. When you work like this, and you say, I use these recessed areas, normally there's dead space, isn't it? But I can get these in, and I'll use that, and I get those in, I'll use that, I get this in here, I'll use that. That's what you need to access. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you can see that you don't need a massive garage or anything to do woodwork. You just need an area, really, and somewhere that doesn't mind a lot of dust. If there's any questions or comments you want to put, just put them below. I'll answer them either there, or I'll do another video if it's something more in depth you want me to go into. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it, talk about it somewhere, get other people involved. I mean, obviously the more people that watch this, the more videos I'll end up putting out, because there's a demand for it. Hope you have a good summer, and hopefully I'll see you soon in one of these videos. Cheers.